Long, long ago, in 1342 BC, somewhere in the city of Amarna, a child was born who, unintentionally, would change the course of an entire civilization. At birth, he was named Tutankhamun, living image of Aten, possibly son of the heretic pharaoh Akhenaten and one of his sisters. Just 9 years later, in 1333 BC, after the death of his father and the short and grim reign of Smenkhare, young Tutankhamun ascended to the throne of the two lands, at only 9 years of age. In the throne room, two old acquaintances, Yatu and Bennu, watched the coronation ceremony.
Bennu, the scepter is almost taller than him.
And heavier, but not nearly as heavy as the troubles that await him. A boy pharaoh in an empire of old grudges and angry gods, he inherited a fractured kingdom, temples filled only with echoes, and people crushed by repression. It was not an easy start, but it would not end any better. Tutankhamun's predecessor had broken more than 1,000 years of tradition by imposing the pseudo-monotheist worship of Aten, pushing aside Egypt's entire pantheon, including the mighty Amun. The result, political crisis, the loss of territories, and deep resentment towards the royal family. From childhood, King Tut was told that he was a superior being, a direct descendant of Aten. He was taught reverence for his father, Akhenaten, which inevitably grew into admiration towards him. But once he took the throne, the boy king fell under the guidance of two powerful men, Vizier Ay and General Horemheb. Alongside the priest of Thebes, they urged the young pharaoh to restore the old gods and return power to Amun. Around 1331 BC, under pressure to appease the religious majority, Tutankhamun changed his name to Tutankhamun, living image of Amun, a name that was illegitimate and populist. The boy pharaoh was against the wall, either resist those around him and risk an accident, or surrender the possibility of doing what he thought was right. The transfer of the royal court from Amarna to Memphis marked the beginning of a new policy. Tutankhamun ordered the revival of construction projects abandoned after the Amarna revolution. At Karnak, sanctuaries to Amun and Mut were raised, and colossal statues of Tutankhamun himself erected. At Luxor, fresh reliefs were carved, showing the young pharaoh, staff in hand, making offerings to the gods as if he were strong and healthy, though the truth was very different. Chapels in Thebes were rebuilt, works in Memphis resumed, and even neglected enclosures in Hermopolis were restored. Every stone laid, every obelisk raised, was carefully recorded by scribes as proof that Egypt was once again in order. Finally, the famous Restoration Stela was issued, proclaiming that the old gods had once again been honored. It was all part of one concise message. Tutankhamun had given Egypt's gods their home back. But in secret, the pharaoh kept a golden disc of Aten, maybe as a memory or as an idol. Meanwhile, in Thebes, the scribes supervised the construction works. Careful with that statue, we don't want Amun coming back with a headache.
It would be a nightmare if they asked us to remake everything again, because the boy feels like swapping gods.
On the surface, the young pharaoh had restored stability, but in truth, he was only a piece of a chessboard, moved by priests and generals. Though the politics were advancing, Tutankhamun's health was declining. He suffered from a deformity in his left foot, a cleft palate, and bone disease, likely the result of royal inbreeding. He also contracted malaria, which weakened his fragile body even more. In the Valley of Kings, artisans crafted walking sticks especially for him. In total, he was gifted 130 canes by the royal scribes and viziers, each more ornate than than the last, yet every one of them was a reminder, though he ruled an empire, he could barely walk alone. I cannot help but wonder, if I am capable of ruling an empire, why can I not walk without pain?
Your Majesty, some men walk fast and don't leave a trace that hasn't been seen before. Others, even if they move slowly, leave a unique mark, remembered for millennia to come.
Yatu, I was always told that you and I were different, but in all honesty, I am less of a pharaoh and more so a scribe with a crown, signing decrees written by others. After all, Yatu, the scepter really is taller than me. While Tutankhamun pretended to reign, Ay and Horemheb fought for influence. The boy king, young and sickly, did not always understand the intrigues around him. Egypt's borders came under threat. The Nubians fought for independence in the south, while the Hittites conquered territories in the north. But the campaigns were led by generals. Tutankhamun stayed in the palace, signing decrees that often benefited his advisors more than his people. Even so, in just a few short years, he managed to restore Egypt's religion, encourage building projects, and bring a measure of stability back to the throne. Not a small feat for a boy who became king at only 9 years old. When the health of the pharaoh faltered, the kingdom paralyzed, the walls whispered rumors, poisoned, cursed, an accident, the truth, as always, hid in the shadows. Do you think I will be remembered? My reign was not even a shadow of Thumos.
Of course they will, Your Majesty. Even if it isn't, Benno and I will make up stories to make sure you will never be forgotten.
And good ones, marching on Ashur, defeating the Mitanni face to face. What need these deathful eyes? Let the world remember me only for this, that I gave my people back their freedom to worship their gods. In 1323 BC, Tutankhamun died unexpectedly, being merely 18 or 19 years old. The exact cause remains uncertain, but most scholars agree it was a mix of congenital defects, malaria, and an infection. His passing left a dangerous void. Ay declared himself pharaoh, marrying Ankhesenamun, while Horemheb ensured the Amarna family's memory was erased. The name of Tutankhamun vanished from royal lists as if he had never even existed. But his tomb, KV-62, remained sealed, likely built for a noble and hastily adapted. The centuries came by, and no one sacked the tomb. When millenniums had passed, it is unlikely anyone even knew that a king was buried in the area. And then, on the 4th of November of 1922, Howard Carter and Lord Carnarvon uncovered the entrance to the tomb. 3 millennia of silence were broken. Inside, a solid gold coffin, jewels, weapons, chariots, over 5,000 objects, including the funerary mask that would, unarguably, become the most recognizable face of the history of ancient Egypt. The discovery ignited a genuine tooth mania across the world. He inspired 2 movies, 3 shows, 5 documentaries, 7 proper exhibitions, 10 books. The boy who reigned only 9 years, crippled by illness and frailty, and censored from Egyptian scriptures, became the most famous pharaoh in history. An irony neither he nor his enemies could have ever imagined. Yatu, you bastard. You were absolutely right. Wait, why is the actor playing me capable of running? Tutankhamun did not conquer any lands. He issued no lasting reforms, and his name was erased by his successors. And yet, 3,000 years later, he is the most remembered of them all, not for his power, but for his story. for his contributions despite his limitations, for restoring Egypt's old gods to his people, and for the image of a boy who, although fragile, carried a whole empire on his shoulders. They used to say in ancient Egypt that to be forgotten is to die twice. Tutankhamun, thanks to the sun, the gold, and a stroke of archaeological luck, will never die again on our watch. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts below in the comment section. It has been a pleasure. As always, ciao!